Romans, Romans 1:28, to continue. In the last video, we talked about what the primary one of the primary verses in the Bible. I mean, there are other ones, but this one almost blatantly tells people what God happens to think about same sex. I'm nobody's judge. I'm just saying that's what the Bible says right there. If you want to review it yourself, Romans 1:26 all the way down to 28. That will tell you point blank how he feels about it. But we're in Romans 1:28 right now. Furthermore, since they did not think it worthwhile to retain the knowledge of God, he gave them over to a depraved mind to do what ought not to be done. There's a certain point in your life where God's going to say, hey, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. But then when you don't listen, he's going to say, okay, you know what, I'm letting you go. I'm not turning my back on you, but I'm going to let you have what you want. And when it bites you in the butt, hopefully you'll learn your lesson. 29. They have become filled with every kind of wickedness, evil, greed, and depravity. They are full of envy, jealousy, murder, strife. Another word for murder is anger. It's pretty much the same concept with God. You're angry at somebody, you pretty much murdered them in your heart. I mean, Jesus said that. Deceit, lies, malice, wishful. For anyone who wants to know, malice is basically someone who wishes ill will on somebody, wants harm to come to somebody. They are gossips, slanderers, cussers, God haters, insolent, arrogant, prideful, boastful. They invent ways of doing evil. You'll know someone who is completely enthralled in Satan and in doing Satan's will, because they won't just do evil. They'll find new when you take away one option, they'll find new imaginative ways to do evil. I mean, look at the concept of drugs right now. You take away weed, crack, heroin, all these things that these kids are getting hooked on. What do? They go find paint, glue, something called stardust, which I guess is like a powder. It's like soap suds or something like that. I don't know. But that's what I think of when I think what this passage is saying about they find new imaginative ways to do evil. They invent new ways. And that's in society as well. I mean, look at all the sex type of stuff they're coming out with to keep people locked in spending money on it. They disobey their parents. We're called by God to obey our parents. We're not called by God to say, hey, whether this person deserves it or not, we should obey our parents. But we should show them respect, because that earns us the favor of God. And when you listen to God, and when you respect his ways, you'll be surprised at how it will change someone's heart. They are senseless, faithless, heartless, ruthless. He's talking about people that are doing their own way. They want to live their way, their life, how they want to live it, and they're not going to settle for anything less than that. They're stubborn, they're hard-hearted, but it's not to where God isn't going to be able to reach them. I mean, he did that with me. Through the divorce, through other things in my mind, he got a hold of me again. And so these are things that he can still reach that person. It's just right now they're following their desires because that's what they feel is right for themselves. And God will work in them at some point so that they know that that's not the best thing. Finishing out Romans 1. Although they know God's righteous decree that those who do such things deserve death, they not only continue to do these very things, but also approve of those who practice them. Because I lived a life of pornography, I wasn't a porn star, but I bought a lot of it. I watched a lot of it. So I've seen what this passage is talking about. They do award shows for that type of stuff. They do presentations. They do lifting up and praising these people that come out with these toys that buy this. Look at Hugh Hefner, one of a rich man, money-wise, for coming out with a magazine that approves of sex, approves of lust. This is what this passage is talking about. I thank God that He's helping me to remember on a daily basis to continue changing what I expose myself to, because what I expose myself to is what I'm going to end up becoming. And we can't sit here as parents and say, hey, do what I tell you to do, but don't do what I do, because that's not going to work with a kid. They're going to look at your words, and then they're going to look at your actions and go, yeah, but Dad, Mom, you're doing what you're telling me not to do. Why shouldn't I do it? If you want your kids to live a life better than yours, if you want your kids to live a life that is whatever you want in your kids, you have to resolve to model that for them. If you don't, you're going to end up damaging your children. My son is 5 now. And because I chose to not be concerned over my cussing throughout the marriage, my son has picked up some bad words. And I now understand how hard that hurts a child. I need to watch my words, even if my kid's mother doesn't. Even if she decides to cuss left and right, I have to resolve myself to not expose my kids anymore to this type of words, to this type of language. I have to model for them what I want. And if I want good to come out of them, if I want love, peace, joy, happiness to come out of them, I have to model that in myself, in who I am. This is the end of Romans 1. And I bid you guys, God bless, have a good night, keep safe, drive safe, do everything you can to love at all times, and live in peace at all times with people. That does not mean that you have to approve of their actions. You're told by God, you see sin, confront it. But that just means that you have to care about them. You have to say, hey, I care enough about you to say to you, hey, you find God. I love you guys in God, and I pray that this somehow uplifts somebody, even if it's just one person.